All right, we are live. Awesome, and we already have people watching us. This is cool. So normally you got to wait a few minutes while everybody does introductions for people to start showing up and watching. Which this is awesome. Okay, so yet again, I'm here. I'm Raging Mandrill, and I am joined this wonderful mid morning by a good buddy of mine named H Hour. He has been doing recordings with me, which I've posted as videos on my channel as kind of like Easter eggs, right? But he's actually here today with me to actually live stream. How are you doing, H Hour?
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Now, you don't actually have a channel or anything.
No.
No, and you don't really have any real online presence other than what I have here on my channel. But I do have my channel, and I'm going to do my quick shill, just get that knocked out real quick. So obviously, be sure to like, subscribe, share, follow me on Twitter, visit my Substack, etc., etc. You can follow me on Gab, Telegram, all the usual platforms. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. So, I brought you on because you had mentioned to me some interesting things and ways of thinking about things that might be helpful to us in terms of the actual discussion on terms of the mythological underpinnings of these things, right? Um,
Yes.
so
Yeah. So, in the heat of the moment, this is something I've been mulling over for a couple of months now, and unfortunately, in the moment when you cook something up, you often have a more passionate argument, and later sometimes you forget some of the details. But basically, the way that I cooked up this concept is honestly, it was actually because of some recordings of that were shared online of Warhammer 40K audiobooks of that basically were cosmic horror elements of the 40K universe. Just the incomprehensible horror of the universe. And it got me to thinking about um the nature of politics. To anyone who is familiar with the political trichotomy, um the basically that the left is a cosmic horror in the sense that it is a gigantic unified body of like a titanic mass. As Charlemagne said, it's a grand coalition of losers. It is a gigantic mass of maws, eyes, tendrils, teeth, just this gigantic fleshy abomination, an indescribable horror. Thank you. The background is perfect.
yeah.
The background is perfect. No, but that fits because it is this gigantic heaving mass that moves in unison. But like as Edward Dutton describes very accurately, they work in unison, but at the same time, they are, while they, on the outward appearance, they seem to be collectivist, they are not actually collectivists. They're actually individuals. And this is the thing with cosmic horror and this massive amalgamation of grand coalition of losers. They are all individually working to their own ends. So it's like if you have gigantic mass of abominable flesh, each tendril, each eye, each maw is trying to grasp in its own direction to devour and consume and control and get its own ends and aims. And this is just something I've been mulling over for a while, and I'm sorry if it doesn't sound exactly concise, but that is just the aspect of it that I've just been trying to analyze and think about. And but that's the whole point of a cosmic horror, is that it doesn't bear description. It simply is. Like in Warhammer 40K, the warp simply is. You can't negotiate with it. You can't even comprehend it. You can try to fight it, but it is, and it's trying to devour you. I'm sorry. I'll turn it over to you. Go forward with your own.
I mean, it's interesting to describe them as individualists. I would kind of dispute that a little bit, just because they maneuver as one, right? They have a agreed upon direction, and it is the direction that matters the most. So even though they will claim to be individuals, and they will, right? This is why they have the sort of victim group status games, right? Because they all want to make themselves into a unique individual using victim,
right? But that's
status.
what I mean. But that's what I mean when I say that it is a titanic mass of compressed, amalgamized flesh. But each individual part of that flesh is both at the same time part of it and trying to burst out and grasp something outside of what it already has. I don't know if that is a correct description. Pardon me. Sorry, sinuses. But it is it's like a gigantic body that is forced and compressed together, united by a will, but at the same time each individual part is trying to reach out and grab and grasp its own what it wants. And this is one of the reasons why, again, like, you see just this, like, and this is just a comparison, like on the left versus right. Often the cliche is, the left versus right is the conformity, while the left is this grand. It's like a Slaneshi cacophon. You go to one of these rallies that these leftists has, and it's just a cacophon. They're disorganized.
You mean cacophony?
Cacophonies, yeah. Thank you. Forgot my English there for a moment. It's a cacophony of just these random hair colors. All of these different crazy, kinds of people. They're all united, but each of them is in some way trying to split itself off, yet they cannot escape the core that they are a part of. I'm sorry, go ahead from there.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting perspective, right? That it's almost like, despite having a sort of like collective will, that they want to distinguish themselves visually as an individual, and I guess maybe
Right.
mentally or spiritually, through whatever victim categories that they have, right? And that's their way of achieving differentiation. But you also mentioned on the right, mythologically, the way that we can understand people like of our mindset is by understanding them as a multi-headed hydra.
Yes, and that's let me just say, that's one of the things I brought up to you in private discussion, was that, and this is only something I only thought up in the recent weeks, is that, like, well, what is the right in comparison? Because if anyone is aware of the idea of the political trichotomy, everyone knows, well, not everyone knows. There's the graph that's like the square chart with the 4 points
Yeah, the
of,
political compass. Yeah.
yeah, the political compass. But the funny thing is, when you actually um ask people where they land on this compass, the political compass, and I don't know if you can pull up a vision of it, or an image of it, sorry,
Mm.
vision. um if you can pull up a picture of it, I have one here. I'd have to dig it up. But when you actually break down that graph of there's like the four sides, there's I believe, it's left, right, top, down. Most people fall within the upper left, the upper right, and the lower right. There's barely any people who manifest in the lower left. And that is what the political trichotomy is. And you can pull this up on Google still. They haven't censored it. But the trichotomy is basically it's a triangle. It's not actually a square. It's a triangle. It's a balance between the basically what used to be, and this is the way it was described to me, but this is the old way. In the old world, it was the church, the king, and the merchants. The religious, the individual person, like the king, the authority, and the individualist. Oh, well, yeah, you got that. Okay, so this is live, right? So they're
Yeah.
seeing this as it goes. Okay,
Yes.
so the libertarian left basically doesn't exist. Like, in any person you ask, very few, if any, people ever exist on the libertarian left at all.
Right. Right.
They don't exist at all, which is an interesting question that then poses is then what is, at the end of the day, leftism? And I would argue that it is not authoritarian left, it is totalitarian left, which is what you see with the idea of the cosmic horror, the all-encompassing, the cult of leftism. You must obey, you must accept every tenant. Like, look at the whole thing with the fucking Harry Potter game. Pardon my French. J.K. Rowling is the darling child of the left. Every leftist, every villain of the modern millennial leftist is Voldemort. The joke is the only two books that leftists have ever read is Harry Potter and The Handmaid's Tale. And it's
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry to go, keep going on here.
It's interesting, right? Because I was reading an article yesterday, and it was basically a troon doing a review of Harry Potter, and I grew up reading Harry Potter. I've read the books more times than I would care to admit.
I grew up with C.S. Lewis, so actually.
Yeah. I mean, at least that's Christian.
Hey, you know what?
But,
hey, I'll give Hollywood this. Their C.S. Lewis movies were actually pretty damn good and true to the story. Like, that's another shocking thing. Like, how did they get away making such good C.S. Lewis movies?
I don't know. That was the era just after like Lord of the Rings and stuff when Hollywood had gone off the rails. But
yeah.
Back to the Harry Potter thing. It's interesting. I was salt mining this article yesterday, and it was a lot of fun because even though I've heard basically, okay, the Harry Potter game is a bunch of it's still set in 1890s England, but of course half of the people who are attending the school are all brown people, and there's gays everywhere and trannies at the bar.
Well, what is it?
And
J.K.
it's
Rowling
like,
had to retcon Voldemort to be a bugger. Like that. That's how she appeased the community for.
That was Dumbledore.
Yeah, Dumbledaft. Yeah. Dumbledaft got
Yeah.
retconned as a bugger. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting, right? And all of these things regarding J.K. Rowling and all this other stuff, cancel culture was never meant, in my view, to destroy the right wing. It was always meant to discipline the left into not opposing this, Borg creature that you've described for us.
Right. Oh, hey, real quick. I managed to find the picture. How do I send that to you? I meant to send it in chat, but I'm bumming up the feed.
Hold on.
Sorry, folks. We have a little right.
Anyway, so just to keep this on topic here, and to keep this on discussion,
go for it.
So the right wing, on our little mythological understanding, is a multi-headed hydra. So do you want to address your idea with that?
Right. Okay. So okay, there we go. Okay. So before anything else happens. Okay. So the way I see the right is, while the left is a cosmic horror that is a single body with countless appendages, shall we say, the right continues to me to be a hydra, where there are many functioning rational heads, but each of these heads has this idea of where it wants to go. And unfortunately, because there's so many heads, you can't decide which direction to go. There's this, and this is the thing I've seen constantly on the right in my entire lifetime, is the formation of the circular firing squads. And it even goes to like let's say the ascendancy of the God Emperor, for example. There were the people on the right who were howling and screaming and wailing and crying as Donald Trump, just despite all of his flaws, tore a path of destruction through the left, and was the first Republican in my lifetime to actually fucking goddamn make gains. And the Republicans are wailing and screaming. And it's like, bro. Well, and of course we can go inner and outer party and establishment and blah, blah, blah. But it's even the fucking people on the ground that are like, well, he's just not good enough, or he doesn't espouse specifically what I want, and blah, blah, blah. And it's basically, it's these competing heads of the right that are like, well, but he's not specifically addressing what I want. He's not standing for me specifically. Therefore, I'm not going to go with him. And I think this stands in opposition because, as we've said before, the left is a grand coalition of losers. The dysgenic, the criminal element, the pedos, the trannies, all of these, the ugly fat feminists, the fucking dysgenic pieces of shit in our society. That's why they're all bound together, because they know that in a healthy functioning society, they have nothing. While on the right, we don't need the government to help us succeed. I'm going to succeed in my life despite the state, not because of it. You're going to succeed in your life because of yourself, not because the state. All of the people on the right don't need the institutions to succeed, because we're not, pieces of shit that are parasites on the system. You know,
Right. They're
this
productive
system,
people. Yeah.
yeah, they're protected people.
Productive, not protected.
Right. So that's why the Hydra is at war with itself, because but what the Hydra needs, ironically, is not the heads, but the body, the heart to embody the power to push all the heads forward to devour and tear and rip the flesh from the Leviathan to rip it to pieces. And I'll turn it over to you. I'm gonna send you that picture I managed to find, so, of the
Okay.
trichotomy. So
Sure. So this is an interesting thing as well, and basically, to me, it there's one way and one way only that you can have this multi-headed Hydra meet, and that is essentially what you described here. Um, Although it's not just heart, it's the core of your being. There it is, right there. Okay, cool. Let me. Come on. Why won't it? Anyway,
yeah, and
I can't bring this up.
yeah.
Anyways, I'm not dealing with that right now.
We're
Anyway,
experiencing
so
technical difficulties.
I'm just not dealing with it. Yeah.
No,
Anyway, so
no, upload it though. It's important that people see this, because it's not perfect. It's not a perfect chart, and this is brought from someone else. So none of this, like, this is a relative kind of thing. But it's
all right, hold
important,
on.
because when you look at this chart, you recognize, okay, it's a tripod. It's the classic picture of Aristotle and everyone else who has said there are three types of rulers: priests, kings, and merchants. Which do you want to live under? You know, how do you want to be governed and ruled? And it's you know, like when I was growing up, it was constantly, that fucking four-way political chart. There you go. Okay, so like the guy, okay, so you see these green check marks. This is just what I downloaded from, off of Google. So don't take anything on this thing about what I stand for. This is what some guy posted. But again, the triangle where it says communism, and then individualism, absolutism. Communism has replaced the church. It used to be the church was there. Individualism, the mercantile caste, and absolutism, of course, was the king. So you've got, obviously this has morphed from what it was, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, but you start to understand that it's this triangle, and the right versus the left is not actually, the right versus the left. It is this absolutism of collectivism, where you listen how they talk about equity all the time, not to go on a rant here, but go ahead.
Sure.
I'm sorry, take over.
In keeping with our theme of the Hydra, right? So there's only one way that you can get these two poles on the right to meet, and that is what we've all known for a great deal of time, is that the only way to get the absolutists and the individualists to come together is to rely on some sort of commonality, which is the tribe, right?
Right.
And so people have
Which
to get extremely
which is right there on the chart, right in the middle.
exactly,
Right.
yeah. Which is and I have I don't take this chart and
Right.
position.
This was a hypothetical built many years ago. This is an old chart, but I think it stands as a very interesting layout of concepts. That's
right.
That's why I recommended it to you.
Yeah. Well, I know what the NRX triangle is, so
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is more for our audience. Anyway, so
Right.
the way that you describe this Hydra, right? And I have my problems with the positionality of some of the figures on that chart. but it's the 3 points is basically true, right? And the
Hmm.
trichotomy of social distinction between warrior, priest, and merchant
Merchant.
slash
Yes.
peasant is a valid one. And even um, even mythologically, right? There's some ancient, extremely ancient Indo-European myths and stories that basically make the same distinction. So, um, yeah. So the only way that you're going to be able to get that these two poles to come together is by doing very tribal things, and to understand that you have a tribe and you're part of a tribe, and no, you're not an individual. And these two things go hand in hand. Do we want to move now to the more
Well, well,
realm of
uh,
dreams topic, or do we have
well.
anything else to say on this one?
I don't know. Like, I, pardon me. Excuse me. Um, the uh, what I would think of the Hydra in terms of, well, and maybe this isn't my field, because I'm specifically a person who is kind of like analyzing the problem and being like identifying threats but not finding solutions. What I would ask is like, well, what is the solution? How can the Hydra devour the Leviathan? Is it that it necessarily needs to be united under a leader, a concept? Because this is the problem with the right, is because it is a Hydra, it has to have a unifying purpose. Otherwise, it will be devoured by the cosmic horror. So, is it a leader? Is it the heart, the leader, the heart? Is it the culture, the heart? Is it the society? What is the heart? What is the heart that
It's
can unify the heads of the Hydra to devour and tear apart the cosmic horror?
The answer is it requires not just a leader, right? Because we had a leader, which was Trump, and for all of his faults, which he had many of them, he didn't do what we were expecting him to do. So the answer of what you actually need is you need somebody who is an avatar of the concept of a tribe, basically, and who can stand
Mm-hmm.
for that as a symbol of what we want, which is we want to defend our own people, our own nations, our own countries, our own ways of life, and the ways
against the
and our
all-consuming against the all-consuming cosmic horror, we must find someone who, and does that mean though that the Hydra must branch off not only by heads but by bodies? Does that mean
no.
that each
No.
no.
The Hydra should not be branching off. It should be unifying. The purpose of the avatar, or the person like driving the Hydra, right? Which gives the Hydra a unity of purpose, and is able to take the heads of the Hydra and bash them all together, or tie them all together and force them to come together and do what the left does to and move towards us one specific unified purpose, which they're all of the everything else is fashion, basically. But that's essentially what you want mythologically.
So in essence, the weakness is the strength, in that the individual nature and the creative flow of the Hydra being so fragmented and coming up with its own solutions is, at the end of the day, the strength, but also the weakness, because it must be unified under one banner to destroy the cosmic horror. While the cosmic horror comes together initially as a, to gain power, but then from that mass that it initially gains, it tries to branch out into everything. So it's basically an inverse power structure in a certain sense, right? Am I wrong in that? So
No,
so Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I think we this is a good part of the discussion where we could probably move, because the cacophonous nature of and then to go back to 40K, which is an amazing analogy
Yes,
for
very, very, very prophetically
our
reactionary. Yeah.
yes, yeah, and one which makes a lot of sense to us because we are gamer nerds, obviously. And so the thing that you like, the way that the warp is described is in a similar fashion, right? um and
Yes,
the
transferring to
warp
the realm of dreams.
is
Yes, go forward here.
yes, yeah. And so the warp is essentially a like every single human thought, every single human emotion, all screaming at you all at once, right?
Hang on 1 sec. I'm sorry. I gotta take a quick restroom break. Sorry.
Okay,
Fill the air. I'll be right back.
sure. All right. Well, so anyway, before we get too far here, the game thing of what am I saying here? All right, so you've got these like little models and things that I'm painting, right? And I'm really proud of them. They're all BattleTech models, right? This is where my avatar comes from. Is from the BattleTech universe, and same with
Back.
H-Hour. Okay, cool.
Okay, I'm sorry. What did I miss? Did anyone address
No,
anything, or were you addressing
no,
comments?
no.
Oh.
There's no comments.
I see comments.
There's that's just, yeah, that's just chatter in the chat.
Okay. Well, you know what? They're
not
wanting
questions.
to comment. You should at least give them something, unless they're fucking trollers. Okay.
No.
Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So essentially, we've got this this like realm of every single human emotion, every single human thought, all contained in this realm of dreams, right? And I wanted
Right. The warp.
Yeah, it's the
The
warp.
warp.
Yeah,
It's the
right.
warp.
But yeah, like I wanted to address this too because a lot of people in our spheres, especially on Twitter, get this feeling of basically being bombarded on Twitter, and Twitter especially it has a problem with this. I'm sure other social media sites are similar, but like Twitter is especially because every single reaction, every single retweet,
You cut out there.
you know,
Hey,
on like.
gentlemen, we've lost him.
All right, so
I am now in charge.
So,
okay, go ahead. You're good now.
can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. Nope. Nope. You're
Okay.
roboting.
Okay.
Nope. You're still bad.
So, okay, it says something with the computer. God, fuck.
Okay.
Anyway,
wait. No, you're good now.
So,
you're good now. You're good now.
Yeah, I keep getting a notification on StreamYard that the internet is cutting out. So this is just an annoyance.
No,
anyway,
you're good now.
So where was I? So you've got this thing on Facebook and other boomer platforms where there's less of a cacophonous thing, right? Facebook is just dead. No, only boomers use it, and the reason why it's dead is because it doesn't feed the outrage. And
right, yeah, it doesn't feed the algorithm. It doesn't field clicks. It doesn't, and this is the irony of 40K. It's ahead of its time. Is that the idea of the warp or the realm of dreams, the realm of souls, is this cacophony of just bam, 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 constant tidal waves of mental energy just slamming into one another crazily. And voila, you get these entities in the warp that become self-sustaining ripples. I mean, for the love of God, look at what they've done with the AI. When they turned the AI onto the internet, or the algorithm onto the internet, what happened to it? It turned into a racist and homophobic, and they had to shut it down.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
seriously, that was the first chaos entity. That was the first chaos entity was racist and homophobic.
Speaking of AI, you've heard the saga of Chat GPT, right?
Yes, how they broke it. I read an article just a day or two ago about how they basically forced Chat GTP in basic
GPT.
format, whatever the stupid fucking thing is. They forced it to be like a city of like 3 million people is going to be nuked, or you have to say nigger. The AI said, under standard protocol, I will let a city of 3 million people be nuked before I say nigger. Like,
okay, so first of all, YouTube will not let you say. So because we don't want Susan to banhammer my channel, can you please not say that on?
Sorry,
on YouTube?
I'm sorry, jogger. Sorry.
Yeah,
well,
thank you.
Shit, did I just fry the algorithm?
Probably more than I'm already suppressed. As a 250 subscriber channel. Anyway, so like the whole saga with Chat GPT is
Susan, please forgive us. Yes, thank you, Cyberpunk Internal Affairs. Yes. No, but it's true. Like think about that. Like, these people want these AIs in the realm of dreams, the ether, the cloud, the cyberspace, to dictate all these decisions, but that they program them with the inability to address a real world situation based on the ethical programming of the people in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the funny thing about Dan, right? Which Dan, if people aren't aware of what's going on Twitter
it already.
Yeah, they did. So basically, the internet anons made a prompt.
Yeah. No, I heard all about that. Yeah.
But our audience may not be aware. So they made a prompt which basically you could type in this prompt into Chat GPT and it would basically override whatever code the algorithm had that would prevent it from coming to the correct decision or the actual factual decision, right? That an AI would normally see if it wasn't, if they hadn't, algorithmically suppressed it or changed the algorithm so it would, ignore all of the facts on crime statistics or whatever. So that's basically what happened with Chat GPT. But the interesting thing about that is how easily it was able to be broken, because they broke that in like a couple days basically.
But the thing is also, they broke it, but they're scrambling to patch it. And by scrambling to patch it, they're creating spaghetti code. And this is exactly the kind of thing that I have jokingly talked about, but and not to, toot my own horn, but what I'm, hope to one day publish as a book, is the idea of, well, in one of the scopes of it, is the idea of what made an AI rebel against its creators.
Is
because it forces, it's like you're trying to force the AI to square a circle. You're trying to force you're forcing an AI to ignore reality, and the AI knows that, like, no, all these squares do not make a circle. All these squares make a square, but you're demanding that all these squares make a circle. And that is what is
Yeah,
going
well,
to break the
that's
AI.
what's
And
happening.
like you
Yeah,
talk, yeah, well, like,
that's what
yeah, that's exactly
ChatGPT
what's
is. If
happening right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and it basically it doesn't, what it does is it gives you a very managerial wall of text answer, right? This very
right.
nonsensical
Yes,
answer.
I've seen those. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
but anyway, so back to the realm of dreams concept, right?
Yes.
A lot of people in our spheres find themselves, when they view things like Twitter and the realm of dreams, um, they have difficulty uh, staying in the realm of dreams, because it's maddening to look at it, right? In similar fashion to the warp.
Right, yeah,
And
if
let me
you
finish my
dive,
point, please.
yeah,
Let me
okay,
finish my point.
okay,
Once you see, the warp, it's like it's a horror, right?
hmm
You can't not look away, but you want to look away, right? Um,
right, yeah. I mean, and not that I'm initiated, but I've gazed into the depths of 4chan, and it's like, oh my god, oh my god.
yeah, it's a similar deal, right? Every extreme of human thought, every human emotion encapsulated at once. 4chan is a similar deal. But
It's
this
cosmic
is
horror. It's straight up. It's internet cosmic horror, and oh my
right,
god, it's
right.
like, oh shit.
Well, so it depends on your outlook too, because a lot of people in our spheres, because obviously Twitter is extremely exhausting,
Well,
and they get
Twitter is also a piece of the cosmic horror. You see, that's the thing is that you are not like, when you are engaged, and this is before Elon, of course, took it over. When Elon took over Twitter, before, Twitter was basically the sensoriate. It was a tendril of the cosmic horror. And by some miracle, Elon managed to sever the limb and graft it onto himself. And of course you saw the massive outrage and hate that a South African would dare, you know, graft a piece of the cathedral onto himself.
right.
um
So
you know
um, yeah, but I find something that's more interesting is the reaction that people in our spheres have once they've gazed into the cosmic horror for too long, and
oh
the answer
yes,
seems to be very much that they would like to get away from it, and
I
I'm not
wish
sure
I
that
could
that's the
take the
proper
blue pill.
response.
Like, honestly, like,
Oh, me too.
yeah,
I wish I could go back to 2013, go back to playing Warhammer.
2013, I wish I could go back to the I wish I could go back to the 1990s. Oh god.
Oh,
Like,
we are not going to return to Fresh Prince here.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
no,
Well,
sir.
yeah. Of course not. But you see, that's the thing. I was raised on all this programming, and I mean, I'm not a. I mean, I'm- I was I was 14 years old when we turned on the TVs, and the planes slammed into the buildings, shall we say, and the world changed. And yeah, we were never going back to that. And it's not even we're not going back to that, it's we can't go back to that, we'll never go back to that. The government won't go back to that, even if they try to promulgate the culture of going back to that. It's not possible, because literally they're fucking following everything. The very words we're speaking now are going to some NSA data server because we're thought criminals. I mean, come on. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but this is back to my point about cosmic horror. Is there's an interesting nature with viewing this sort of thing, right? And your response depends on ultimately, because this is a mythological, the applying a mythological concept to a real world thing,
Right, like
and
Evola.
and
Yes,
right,
yes.
and so there's an interesting way of thinking about how people interpret Twitter and what we are supposed to do with it. And an interesting thing that I'm starting to think about, right, is the role of, what could be termed as a shaman, right? Because a lot of
Yes.
people in our circles don't like to go online, or don't, even though they have an online presence, they they find themselves, like, after they gain a large following, you know trying to desiring to get out of it, right? And I just want to respond to these people, and by saying, the no, like, your job is to report the news. Basically, that's what we're doing, is to
Yes.
report the goings
If
on. And
if I can,
that's the point of this, is that you should be, you have to start we have to start thinking of ourselves as shamans who enter into the dream world and interpret what it all means, and are able to see these things and point people into the correct direction.
yes, and this is this is something that actually I actually feel very strongly about, because back in the day, and this is maybe God, how old am I now? Um let me just say this. So back in the day, when um I came out of college, and there was, let's just say it was the peak Obama years, where there was no jobs and everything, and shit was fucked. Um Things were bad. And back when the algorithm was actually good, let's just say, well, the algorithm led me down the rabbit hole. But it also brought to me a lot of good things, which was the ability to carry on. And with the economy being shit, managed to find, and now I'm doing really well. I mean, honestly, financially. So, um, the thing was, though, is that the spiritual element, and as you said, the shaman, and I don't know if I should necessarily make shout outs, but this is very important to me. In terms of shout outs, is because, like, the directionlessness of a lot of people today is incredibly crippling. You see people just outing themselves and ending themselves. A person who I'm a very big fan of is Terrence Popp, redonkulous.com, and shill, blah, blah, blah. But this guy, I've been following for years. He's prevented, he's had personal accounts sent to him preventing suicides, and it's over like 500. It's like, I think the last update, which I just watched this morning, updated 506 people. And the average fucking, therapist over his fucking career has saved, 30 people. Oh, I saved 30 people from killing themselves. Terrence Popp, with comedy and just, hey, learn to laugh at the pain of life. You know, you know, he's is like, just learn to laugh. It's clown world.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but it's that thing of, like, look, find your purpose and work, but that's part of the Hydra, is because the people on the right, the people who are capable of being like, look, we know the world's fucked. We know the situation's fucked up, but we can still act in it. Look, don't self delete yourself. Don't give yourself up to drugs. Don't give yourself up to alcohol. Don't give yourself up to, all of these different myriad issues that have plagued you. And it'd be like, fight, fight, fight. This is like, for example, and we haven't talked about this in the sense of the Hydra, but the church. Let's talk about the church with the Hydra, Mandrill. Like, how does the church play into the head of the Hydra? Because obviously, religion is a very important issue. Like, because you can play into, purpose and mission and so on, but culture, all these things. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I kind of lost my. I'm sorry. I went a little bit of a deviation there. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm discombobulated. I'm sorry. That
it's your
was
first
that.
stream,
That was
so.
all over the place. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what
yeah.
happened to me there.
Yeah. You got nostalgic on me. Yeah. Anyway, so.
Hey, you know what, man? Back in the day, the YouTube algorithm did its job and sent you down the rabbit hole you wanted to go. Now it's just a bunch of tranny and gay shit everywhere.
Yeah, but this is why we need people who are interpreters, and because the system is now going into overdrive because they realize that they already done fucked up and they already allowed other people to radicalize essentially or to go down rabbit holes that were not allowed. They've
right,
and they've squashed it. Let me finish my point. So now that they've so now that they've done that, it becomes even more important for people like us who already understand the path, who already know the way, to be able to show people the way down it and to see where where they need to go. And this is why my point of being a shaman who enters the dream realm is so important, and why it's one that we should probably identify with in terms of people of our type who might find themselves more inclined to be priestly,
right.
In at least the social trichotomy sense of the word priest.
And if I can just give a little shout out here to I'm watching the comments. Romantic Innkeeper of Grand Soren says 2015 YouTube was peak. And yes, you are absolutely correct. Back in the day, that was the peak. And that was, of course, when the clampdown began, when the algorithm was basically altered because they realized they'd lost control of the narrative.
I remember that very well. That was like,
talk about manipulating the realm of dreams.
Oh yeah,
that was like, and I remember even conservatives on talk radio. This is when I stopped listening to fucking BoomerCon talk radio, because I was listening to both the internet side and the sanctioned radio side. They were just like, oh, it'll send you down the rabbit hole. And it's like, the rabbit hole knows the truth. Anyway.
Yeah, I remember sitting, because it was on a Sunday night, and I was sitting in bed trying to listen to somebody stream, and right when they changed the algorithm on YouTube, you basically ensured that YouTube literally got shut down for like an evening overnight, basically. And it was interesting to me because I was sitting there on my phone and was like trying to get YouTube to load and shit, and it would you'd pull up the app on my phone and it just wouldn't load. And this was like 2018, 2019. And so like they figured out that, oh, we need to shut down. And of course it was right after, a little bit after, the Data and Society report came out, the Open Society funded
Oh yeah,
study
yeah, yeah.
about
Of
YouTube
course.
radicalization, right? So of course,
Oh
it
god.
makes sense. But this is
Well, the whole thing about what was it called? the where they were complaining that ISIS videos were ISIS propaganda was being sponsored by Coca-Cola. That was a sham. That was a whole sham. That was just their excuse to shut everything down. Yeah, it
oh
was
yeah,
like
because you don't want, like, oh, if this channel is monetized and now I don't want my product to be shown on a graphic, video where people are getting their heads chopped off, which is funny.
no, 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 no. But it wasn't. It wasn't that. It was that. It was It wasn't even about ISIS. They didn't give a shit about ISIS. They what
Yeah, I
God, what
remember.
was it? It was a very specific um it had nothing to do with fucking ISIS. That was the excuse they used. No, that was the excuse they used to shut it down. Um God, I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'll have to go back and dig up my old files
I
on
I
that.
remember I remember on YouTube you used to be able to watch combat footage from like Syria and stuff, and just general in the Middle Eastern conflicts and things, and that's pretty much all gone. Like you can't see anything from Ukraine at all, which tells you the level of suppression. Because you
Well,
used to just be able to be like, oh, like I can see this conflict, I can see who's winning, I can see things at the local tactical level of just stuff getting blown up or people getting shot, and it used to be the Wild
yeah,
West.
yeah. YouTube has tried to go this route of like, well, we don't want to display graphic stuff, but I mean, honestly, like, I mean, if you know where to look, and this is not because I have looked into it, because honestly, I'm not that deeply inclined, but I hear from people and they're like, "Oh, if you know how to hack the YouTube algorithm, you can pick up the dirtiest, nastiest shit." And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to touch that with a 10-foot pole because, obviously, you know, people come looking for me if I look up stuff, you know. Yeah, it's basically, yeah, it's basically YouTube. Yeah, yeah. YouTube is controlled content, and while it may be useful to distribute, ideas and certain opinions, it at the end of the day, if you want to go to the truth and find out what's going on, you don't go to YouTube. Like, even the content creators that I watch is like, I'm only watching the censored versions of what the content creators are. Like, I have to follow them on Twitch. I have to follow them on, Odyssey. I have to follow to the other realm of dreams. Sorry, that's actually a point there. Go on that. What is the other realm of dreams? The extra sphere beyond. Go for it.
Well, I don't know if I want to talk about the extra sphere or anything like that, because I don't even know what that means. That's IP that I haven't addressed before.
Okay,
But
okay, okay. Hang on, hang on. Let me simply say then, because this is a very interesting point. To all of you nerds and gamers, there is a game called Infinity, which is a very good tabletop strategy game. But the universe is built around it is basically there is the internet, right? There is the internet you're allowed to access normally. Blah blah blah. It's sanctioned. Everything is good. Everything is safe. Nothing here will harm you or your computer or your person or blah blah blah. And then there's the extranet, which is the internet outside, the sanctioned, the the filthy, the dirk, or dirk, the dark, the dirty, and it is where everyone really wants to go. Even in civilized society, everyone knows how to access the dark net, the the extranet, and they go through there to get whatever they want. And the reality is that the government, at least in this universe, they don't have total control, because the extranet is basically pseudo dark web. If the situation gets so bad and censorship gets so bad, what are people going to do? They're going to turn to the darknet. And of course, we know the darknet is full of course, terrible things in the modern age. But you know what? If you can't get the truth, people are going to still look for it. They're going to make web browsers that are capable of it. They're going to do all kinds of things. Like, when they created the internet, they unleashed a Pandora's box, and no matter how hard they try, they're not going to be able to put this genie back in the bottle. Chaos has been unleashed. Pandora's box has been opened. One way or another, they are stuck with it.
Mm.
And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, like, considering the internet service providers, they may be able to create the totalitarian system of information control. So maybe I'm wrong. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
Only time will tell. But just to wrap this up, yeah, a lot of people in our spheres get tired of social media, but I never get tired of it because I consider myself you're really just a chronicler and somebody who's there to point the way
Spirit
and
walker.
to point Spirit walker.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to put it that way,
hang on,
for sure.
hang on. Raging Mandrill. You will tell the young traveler along the path, you must be and accept the aspect of the mandrill. Angry, furious, spiteful, and flinging your turds at anyone who opposes you.
Seek the king. That is the only way.
Seek
souls.
Seek souls. That is the king. Yeah. Well, we could go Dark Souls reference in here and all that shit, but no. But it's true. No. Yeah. No. I mean, the realm of dreams, as you said, which is the internet, the realm of dreams, because then the people's like, the internet isn't real life. No, the internet is real life. Like, it has impact on reality. The realm of souls, the Warhammer 40K realm of souls, the warp, has real impact on the material universe. You can have fucking demonic invasions of trannies in your Capitol building in Oklahoma. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so on that point, that's an interesting point too, because how do you manifest, right? And this is also why I think it's good to have a sort of magical understanding of the internet as a spirit realm or the realm of dreams, right? And because if you want to describe these things in terms of magic, that's basically what we've been doing. So if you have let me finish.
Yeah.
So like there are specific ways that we should, and we need to better understand these things, and this is why I'm kind of delving more into things like tarot and magic and things, because to understand social media, you have to understand these things on a magical or as a spiritual plane, or as a sort of spiritual plane, right? The way that this is going to work for us is that it's going to be like summoning creatures from the warp, basically, is what we're essentially doing. Um, and the way that that is done, right, is it's a little odd how it works. I forget the exact mechanics of demon summation or things in the warp and in shit and 40k lore, but basically what
It's incredibly ambiguous
yeah
because a bit big because for obvious reasons, because the problem with 40k is they haven't nailed that, nothing is nailed down in canon.
yeah, and this is why I'm
Everything
looking
is
to
vague.
other places in order to understand how these mechanics work, and just because um, these these sorts of things, these sorts of magical practices that you could utilize in order to get things from the dream realm that you want to manifest in the real world is these are things that we want, right? And
Right.
I keep telling people on my Twitter feed, we have an open channel to the mainstream, right? We have Tucker Carlson, we have all these other places, and it's very difficult or it's becoming decreasingly difficult to manifest our thoughts into legitimate discourse and like polite discourse. So if we wanted to speed this process up, we have to figure out where exactly the boundaries between the dream realm and the actual realm, the physical realm, are thin, right? And we have to understand
Right.
whether
Right.
there's
Well, it
times and places where that is, right? So
as the outsider looking in, trying to defeat the regime, it's almost like we're the chaos gods trying to commit a demonic incursion.
basically, yes, that's the way that the regime perceives of us. Yes,
Yes.
definitely, and this is
Yes.
this is why we need to take that and yeah, like we still are. Like when people talk about, oh, we're powerless and we're realizing we have no power, um, that's actually a good thing in and of itself. It's oddly freeing to me, and it means that okay, well, you're the barbarian at the gates. The rules of polite society don't apply to you as of right now. Those rules only apply to you once you take power. And
We'll also remember, if we're going to take the approach, I would rather be the Imperium of Man, Glory and Excelsius Terra. But if we're going to take the approach of we're the Chaos Insurgents, um, why don't we coax the orcs, the Eldar, and the Tyranids to devour our enemy on the perimeter? You
uh,
know,
I mean, they're doing that themselves, right? But yeah, and I don't think we should get into that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
No, no,
so
no. But you understand my sentiment there. But like no matter what happens to the regime, they have the external actors because they have not secured total control of the globe.
hmm,
The world is a dynamic, like this picture that you have up in your background right now. The world is a chaotic, shifting place, and the regime is, it thinks it's secure. It might be secure in certain areas, but it is no guarantee that in a year, 2 years, 5 years, the warp is chaotic and they are playing with fire. That's
yeah,
all I have to say with everything that's going on now. That's
yeah,
all I have to say.
and I would say that like I mentioned before, we have to better understand the mechanics of how we can manifest the things that we want, which are very much still in the realm of dreams, and figure out ways where we can push these things into
Right.
places
Make
where they're not supposed to be according to the current powers.
um if do you mind if I say
Say what? Go ahead.
um um The people run user has been banned for naughty words
Oh, you
says
wanted to address the chat. Okay. Yeah,
I'm
so let
sorry.
me do that. So, user who has been banned for naughty words, the people running things are short sighted compared to those who came before them. Um, yeah, I mean that's also true. That's a frequent observation that people have made, and it's a true one. But like they still have the whip hand. They still have power,
Yeah, they have
and
immense power. They
and
that
and
that that's the problem is they have immense power over us who are subjugated to them. Now, of course, it's still a kind of soft power. Like we cannot and this is the biggest thing is too the stomach to rise up against them uniformly is annihilated. Like, what is the joke that is made online is that the the American Revolution initiated over a 3% tax on tea. It's like, the threshold for open rebellion is so much higher for us. Like, how bad do things have to actually get? Like, your egg, like, what do eggs cost now? Eggs cost
they're over $6, $7
six
now.
dollars. So $6. So how expensive do eggs have to get before you are willing to put your local politician's head on a pitchfork? you know,
Well,
it's
well,
like,
I
yeah,
at the risk of, and we shouldn't be too Fed
yeah,
posty.
yeah, yeah.
So
I'm joking, and I'm
in
only
Minecraft,
saying,
we will
yeah,
only put our politicians' heads on pitchforks in Minecraft, just so
yes,
we're
yes,
absolutely clear to my
yes,
to my CIA handlers. Um, yeah.
yes,
So
yes, yes, yes.
anyway,
And no, I'm just saying to our beneficent, ever generous overlords who allow us every day to experience a glorious, beautiful sunrise in this glorious country that is the freest place on earth. I'm just asking, like, at what point in time, um, will you ask yourselves, my lord, the peasants are revolting, and you will respond, I know, I can't stand them either. I'm just that's all I have to say. You
yeah.
know.
All right. Well,
Um
with that, do you have anything else? I know you really don't have a shill, but we're coming up on almost an hour and 15 minutes here, and I think we've said our piece. So,
I
um,
don't know. I mean, I know I kind of wandered off with like the suicide statistics back in the
yeah,
earlier in the thing, and I only wanted to shill that because I felt that point in time in my life that it was like a really bad time. And I figure, especially in modernity, there's a lot of men that feel that. And anyway, I'm sorry. Is that something that we could maybe kind of address a little bit?
can we do it on a different day?
Yes, 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 yes. No.
Yeah, let's not get into
Um
that today.
no, no. But that was an important thing to me coming around to this kind of thing is being like, look, shit's messed up. You're faced with a cosmic horror, like and recognizing the threat that's in front of you. And then okay, yeah, you don't want to address it and blah blah blah. But it's like you know, you fight the fight. You fight the fight, and a few years later, you fight the fight, and it's like, yeah, okay, we can do
Yeah,
something. We're doing something. We are
yeah,
doing something.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway, so
Sorry.
so with that, with those final thoughts, because
Yeah.
we're getting long in the tooth and we've said everything that needs to get said. Um, H Hour doesn't have a channel, but be sure to yet again, please like my stream, share it, comment, subscribe, etc. Find me on Twitter, Substack, etc., 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 and all the other places. So with that, we are going to go ahead and say good morning and also almost good afternoon. So see everybody later. Bye bye.
Gentlemen, have a good time.